Sorry, just unmuting myself. Let me know when you can see my screen.
It hasn't come up just yet. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Frontier Incubators webinar series. Today, we're going to be discussing data-driven decision-making for accelerators and incubators, and we're delighted to be joined by the Global Accelerator Learning Initiative, Village Capital, Second Muse, and Conveners.org. Frontier Incubators is a program brought to you by the Innovation Exchange, a program of Australian Aid and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for the Australian government. Brett, if you can, next one, thank you. So to give a quick recap on the Frontier Incubators program, we are building the capacity of a cohort of incubators and accelerators across the Southeast Asia, South Asia and Pacific region. We're going to be providing tailored training, opportunities to grow, and access to expert mentors. As part of this process, we're also developing public resources, including webinars like these to help support broader development. And our goal is to connect incubators and accelerators across the Asia-Pacific region. Our applications opened back in May, and you have just about less than 24 hours until they close at the end of July 31st. We will select our cohort and make announcements by October, and the cohorts that are selected will receive the capacity building training from November 2018 through June of 2019. This will include an intensive week-long workshop experience, as well as ongoing mentorship and in-country intensive training. Thank you to all of our presenting partners who have helped to make this webinar series possible. And if you're still interested in applying, there are a few hours left, and you can do that at frontierincubators.org. And of course, we invite you to join the conversation online with the hashtag FrontierIncubators. With that, it's my pleasure to turn it over to Brent Ruth from the Global Accelerator Learning Initiative and Heather Matrenga from Village Capital.
All right, thanks, Avery. Hello, all. We're all at different times of the day, so I would say good evening, but some of you it's morning and some afternoon. I'm Brent Ruth. I'm from Emory University, based here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a Global Partnerships Manager for the Global Accelerator Learning Initiative, which is a partnership between Emory University's Entrepreneurship Database Program and the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. And really our objective is to better understand the impact of acceleration on entrepreneurs around the world. So that's a brief introduction. I'll let Heather introduce herself and Village Capital, and then I'll give you some more details about GALI.
Hi, thank you all for joining. My name is Heather Matrenga with Village Capital. Village Capital, we work with early stage entrepreneurs to connect them with the resources they need to scale. We work with companies that are in sustainability and economic opportunity sectors. We have both a programmatic model where we support companies with investment readiness and connecting them with the resources that they need to grow their companies, as well as an investment arm. So we invest in companies that come out of our programs. We've been a longtime partner of GALI and the EDP. So I'm excited to have this conversation and share some of the lessons that we've learned throughout this partnership.
All right, so just to go a little bit deeper into what GALI is and how we operate. So really we're doing two different things. We're looking at individual programmatic level impact. So working with accelerator programs to help them better understand the impact they're having on their own entrepreneurs. And then we aggregate all of that information that we collect and produce larger sector level research that answers questions like, is acceleration really working? How does acceleration work in specific geographies or for specific genders? So those are really the two pillars of our program. So like I said, to understand our accelerators making a genuine impact on the ventures they support. This sort of began out of, we found that a lot of accelerator programs were able to collect data from the entrepreneurs that they were supporting, but it was a difficult task. they were able to get information at the time of application, but following up year over year or over time, became quite a challenge. And that was just with the entrepreneurs that they worked with. And if they were able to gather that information, it's just kind of a one-sided picture. Like, okay, we picked these entrepreneurs and we supported them. They grew revenues by this much, or they increased this many jobs. What we're providing as a value added is collecting standardized data from everyone that applies to the Accelerator program and following up with everyone over time and providing that information back to the Accelerator program so they can see the differences between the entrepreneurs that they supported and those that applied to the program but were rejected. And this gives them a little bit more, validity to saying, our program had this impact because our entrepreneurs performed this much better than those who didn't go through the program. And we manage that process ourselves. So it takes some of that burden off of the Accelerator programs who are often, have small staffs. They're constantly running from one program to the next, and doing that follow-up consistently over time is quite a challenge, especially as, staff changes, priorities change, that sort of thing. So we provide all of that data that we collect. And when I say the data we collect, to give you a sense of what that is, we ask entrepreneurs to report prior year revenues, full-time employment, investment numbers, equity, debt, and philanthropic investment. We ask them about their business model. We ask about the founder background. So age, gender, location, educational background, prior work experience, prior entrepreneurial experience. We collect that from every program that we work with, and we provide back application reports that show a summary of entire applicant pools. And then on an annual basis, we follow up with all of those entrepreneurs. And at that time, we provide follow-up reports that show the comparisons. 1 year later, what's the difference between the ventures who participated in my program and those that were rejected? So our partners use this information to make programmatic decisions, to report back to their funders, to promote their programs and say, okay, to entrepreneurs, you should come to our program because these are those kind of results that we're generating. To date, we've worked with over 200 Accelerator programs, reaching ventures in over 150 different countries. Through the end of 2017, we had just under 14,000 entrepreneurs in our database. We're up to over 17,000 to date. So we've really grown incrementally over the years. This initiative really took off in 2015, but the entrepreneurship database program started collecting data back in 2013 with Village Capital. So it kind of predates GALI as a broader initiative. So this is just an example of some of the partners we work with. In addition to the programmatic level data that we provide back to our Accelerator partners, we compile all of our data, anonymize it, and do additional sector level research. So we produce a major publication each spring. The one we produced in May was looking at accelerating the flow of funds into early stage ventures. And last year we produced a report looking at acceleration comparisons in emerging markets versus high income countries. And then on a semi-annual quarterly basis, we produce data summaries looking at specific topics. So ones that might be of interest to accelerators is, where is funding for accelerators coming from? What's the return on investment for an accelerator to support these entrepreneurs? We look at entrepreneur mobility and gender, the impact of gender on securing investments. So all these topical things we produce in quarterly reports. So to answer the question, like over these years, the data we've collected are showing that ventures who participate in accelerator programs have higher financial outcomes. That's kind of across the board with philanthropy, changes in equity, changes in revenue. Those ventures are performing better. So obviously we have a lot more data to explore and have explored, but this is just going to kind of give you an overview of the types of trends that we're seeing. And then I'm going to turn it over to Heather, because Village Capital is a really unique partner for us, and that they were our first. And as you may know, Village Capital operates programs all over the world. And so we have amassed a huge amount of data from Village Capital programs that has allowed us to do additional analysis that we can't do with every program that only has a couple operating around the world. So the first report we published in 2016 was looking at 15 Village Capital programs. And so I'll turn it over to Heather to tell you a little about that report, and then what sort of insights Village Capital got and has run with over since then.
Thanks, Brent. So as Brent stated, we partnered with GALI originally because we were very interested in understanding what aspects, is our program effective? Our objective is to help scale overlooked and undervalued entrepreneurs, help them connect with the resources they need to grow. Is that actually happening? So we wanted to share our data to conduct, an analysis to actually see whether or not our companies are growing as a result of our program, and if so, what aspects of our program are useful to companies, and which aspects should we really rethink that just aren't as useful. And so for the first couple of years of the GALI program, we comprised a lot of their data set, and as a result, we were in a unique position where they actually conducted a deep dive into our programs to identify which factors were led to success for companies, and which factors were not correlated with performance of the actual program. I think that these factors that from this report actually can be extrapolated to any accelerator, though. It's not just unique to Village Capital. And so the learnings we like to share broadly. So as Brent kind of mentioned, they provide programmatic data about the financial performance of your specific accelerator. So for example, the most recent data that GALI has provided us has indicated that our ventures raise 2.7 times more capital than the control group, which is the broader applicant pool, and generate 1.7 times more jobs and 1.28 times more revenue. So this is the type of data that all partners receive as part of participating in the GALI program. The 2016 report that Brent mentioned did a deeper dive into actually the programmatic elements that contribute to that performance, or that may make the accelerator not perform as well. We found some surprising things and not such surprising things. Things that were validated that we always thought to be the case were things like access to network is really important. Access to meaningful partners was really important. But there were a few things that GALI uncovered through this analysis that were surprising and actually resulted in us changing the way that we think about our program. So the first is on this slide here, and that's the quality of applicants. The quality of the applicant pool improves program performance. So oftentimes you will have programs that really prioritize quantity over quality when it comes to applications, and partners will do this too. They want to see 150 applications come through, or whatever the target number might be, but that actually doesn't correlate with the performance of the program, and sometimes it can show the opposite. Rather, having a curated quality applicant pool is correlated with performance of the program, and the reasons for that are that if it's a quality applicant pool, the programs tend to be more focused. So that could be for us in particular. We have sector-specific programs that actually focus on a particular problem statement. So we're not boiling the ocean with all of our programs, and we're attracting companies that are very interested in working with other companies and mentors within a particular sector. So diving deep into their sector and working on a specific problem statement. In addition, our team spends a lot of time finding these applicants and talking to these applicants to really improve the quality of the applicant pool. So by the time we get to the selection and by the time we get to the program, we have a good sense of what the landscape is for all the companies that are working in a particular sector in a particular geography. So as a result of this finding, we've actually changed the way that we even think about our internal KPIs for programs. And we have quality metrics now instead of quantity metrics. And it has informed our recruitment process. The second finding was that is around partners, so partners that actually help fund the program. Partners improve the quality of program performance, which perhaps in and of itself isn't that surprising. What is surprising is that big names don't matter as much as hands-on partners that are aligned with the objectives of the program. So having a big name partner that isn't necessarily aligned with the goals of the program can be distractive versus having a partner that maybe doesn't have as big of a brand but is willing to lend their employee time or is willing to think through potential strategic partnerships or actually work with the companies on a more regular basis. Helps the program perform better. And then finally, the third finding is really around how the curriculum is structured. So the programs that focus a lot on in-classroom time or spending time explaining topics aren't nearly as effective as programs that prioritize networking, mentoring, and in-group work, which is a finding that I think GALI has reiterated time and time again. I know that one of their most recent reports indicated that programs that focus on even company feedback tend to be higher performing programs than those that focus specifically on topics. So a lot of times accelerators or even, initially when we started might think we should spend a lot of time talking through how you structure a financial model or how you think about your term sheet or these like really technical aspects of raising investment or conducting a financial analysis on your company. But doing that in a classroom setting isn't nearly as effective. So we really changed the way that our programs are structured, have much more time with the companies doing real world application of these concepts. And also we've brought on investment analysts to work with the companies one-on-one versus spending the time during the actual accelerator to focus on these. So with that, I can hand it back over to Brent, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Okay, thanks, Heather. Like I said, Village Capital's unique partnership has offered us the opportunity to do a lot of really interesting things that we haven't been able to do with every partner. We have really focused these last 2 years on expanding the number of partnerships we have with accelerators around the globe and filling some of the gaps that we have in our data set. And when I say gaps, I mean, I'm mainly talking about regional gaps. In the early years, a lot of our partners were based in the US or Canada, or actually we have a lot in Mexico, and also kind of scattered around where the Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs has chapter staff. So India, Sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, and so these last couple of years, we've really been focusing on regions that haven't been as included in our database. So I've been focusing a lot on Brazil and other South American countries. My colleague Emily, who wasn't able to join us tonight, has been focused a lot on Southeast Asia, and that's kind of where this relationship with Frontier Incubators comes from. So in terms of, I mentioned partnership a number of times, and where we form partnerships with accelerator programs. And we really have limited criteria, I guess. It's pretty flexible criteria in the sense that we work with accelerator programs, some incubators, we have a general definition of entrepreneur support program that you offer open applications anyone can apply to, typically online. You have a selection process where some but not all of the applicants are selected for the program. And that's just because if you select everyone, then we don't really have a value added in terms of providing you with that comparison. We say typically that you have more than 30 entrepreneurs applying per application cycle, but that number has kind of gone down as programs have gotten more tailored and more focused, I'd say. And that you typically accept more than 5 ventures per application cycle. I haven't gotten into it too in detail, but the standardized questionnaire that we use gets implemented at the time of application. It currently is available in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. I do know that we are talking about making it available in other languages as needed. So that's just a conversation that shouldn't be a limiting factor at this point for accelerators that are interested in partnering with us. We are an independent research initiative, as I said, based out of Emory University. Partnership is completely free to accelerator partners, and that data privacy and security are very important to us. When we collect an entrepreneur's information, the only people who have access to that information are us, our research team, and the accelerator program that we partnered with to collect the data. Any of the global data set and the anonymized data file, as the name suggests, is anonymous. All entrepreneur and program identifiable information is removed from publicly released data sets. So that just protects the privacy of the entrepreneurs and the programs, because we don't create rankings of accelerator programs and say that this one's more effective than the other. The most important, and that's partly because we work with such a diverse range of accelerator programs. They all have different focus areas. Some are really focused on social entrepreneurs and social impact. Some are more focused on developing the entrepreneur as a person, as a leader, where others are really focused on the strict, I guess what a strict traditional definition of an accelerator in terms of increasing revenues and generating investments. So we work with all types of accelerators, and that's why we don't produce any sort of rankings. So if you are interested in partnering with us, you can get in touch with me, or I'll share, I think after the call, we can pass along the information from my colleague, Emily, and happy to answer questions. I know Avery's going to lead us in some questions, and then obviously if participants have more, I'd be happy to continue.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brent. Actually, we do have an initial question